We're live.
We're live.
Beautiful. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Red Carpet Show. Mark Hebsy, Toronto Mike. It's funny, too, because you're Toronto Mike, but you've got a last name. You don't keep it secret or anything like that. But do you like the handle Toronto Mike?
Yeah, I've been working on that handle for, 20 years now. So, yeah.
Right. How's that working out?
I like it. It's a popular name, and it's a big city, and there's only one Toronto Mike.
7,000 podcasts. Toronto Mike podcasts. Helps, too.
A few less than that. Yeah, we did 861 yesterday. 861. When
you started, did you originally want to do like one a week?
Yeah, it was one a week for a long time, and then it got away from me. You know what happened? I stopped working a full-time job. That's what happened. And now all I do is, so suddenly, yeah, I did 2 or 3 or 4. Yeah.
That'll do it.
Got out of hand.
Forever to load up. Let me do this. First of all,
you do that. I'm going to go to
tell me when I have to tweet.
Yeah, I'm going to go to your YouTube page and dig that up. Hold on.
How do I look, by the way? Do I look okay here?
Because what hat is that?
Most people I know are unkempt simply because their hair and everything else.
Did you get a haircut?
No. Where am I going to get a haircut?
I don't know. Okay. What kind of hat is that?
It's against the law, right? Like if you're from Toronto and they see you with your haircut, hey, you have to explain to them you went underground, you went into someone's garage, you did it yourself. Like I see some of the personalities on TSN, not Mark Masters or Lou, or a few others, but I've seen some other ones that I think they've gotten a haircut. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I got a haircut because my wife did it. Like some people know.
Yeah, well, that's perfectly okay. You're not going to get people, what's going on in there? Haircutting? It's against the law.
And there's always that rogue hairstylist in the park who has you like put on a mask and sit in the park. Have you seen this? There's some guy who cuts.
I have. I don't know if I would trust someone like. I think someone might, if they want their haircut that badly, they're willing to get a bad haircut. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Like a bad haircut's better than your hair going all over the place, I guess. Like my brother's hair, he's almost got a ponytail. And his hair's never been even close to that long. Same with me. My hair's getting really crazy long. And I had mine done in November. I think I got a haircut in November.
Right. When
they opened up for a few weeks before Christmas, I think. I can't remember. It's back that far.
Yeah, we were open for a few months, I think. But
I think so.
I can't remember. Okay, so now I'm just going to dig
wait. We have to say hi, don't we? And we have to tell people, well, I have to tell people after I tweet this out, that this is an interactive show. It's morphed into an interactive show. That it's you, the people, that are the ones that are driving the show and the things we're talking about.
Our order of things is incorrect. I feel like you should tweet the link because then some people wait for that tweet and they jump on it. And then, so here,
Okay, let me tweet the link. Then I'll repeat the fact that it's interactive. Is that right?
You got it.
What a show this
is. So here, I'm tagging you on Twitter. I'm composing this tweet right now. This is like a play-by-play of me composing it. Oh, by the way, Rob Cowan was in my backyard this week.
I know.
But there was a lot of Hebsy love in that episode.
So what am I doing here? Where is your tweet?
Hold on. I have to write it.
You haven't tweeted yet. We are live. See, this is what you get on the Red Carpet Show, folks. You get how the sausage is made. Like that nice, smooth version of the podcast. This is the bumpy road that leads to it. And over the course of 235 podcasts, we've had, technical issues. We've had weather issues. We've had gremlins running through the system.
But when you think about it,
where we,
like this many, what is this, episode 2, what? 2... I should know this. This is episode. I should do an overlay. Okay, so it's episode 235.
Yeah.
And here I see now. That's actually a lot. Like I'd say we had technical issues like only a handful of times. Like our average is pretty damn good.
Are we having one now?
Nope. The tweet is just leaving my old laptop here. It should be on its way to Little Italy.
Is your
so check
your internet
Twitter
signal?
Stream. Is it bad?
Strength is it strong always? I mean, how do we know sometimes? Because I listen to a lot of podcasts and they all have that little dropout where it sounds like you're in a submarine for 5 seconds.
I see a gauge. Like my gauge is typically green. Like it's green right now, which tells me we're good to go here. You
You're
tweet
telling
that.
me I have to wait for your
Well, it's there.
tweet to come through before I can retweet that to say that we're live,
Right.
and then I can introduce all these new people who are going to jump aboard. This sounds very complicated, Mike.
Well, you tweet that link that I just sent you, and I'm going to add an overlay to this video production. So 2:35, standby, 2:35.
Ladies and gentlemen, Toronto Mike.
June
Look
4.
in the back end of this.
The people want to hear your take on the blue and white. This all happened since our last episode. There's lots to discuss.
They're going to have to wait.
They've been waiting all week.
I need that response from our regular viewers, listeners.
Okay.
And we're getting more and more. We can track them. And so people are tuned in now to listen to I don't know, what is it, a morning show? It's a morning show in BC, right? It's like 6:30 in the morning. Hey,
right.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Dale Cadeau. And Gene Velitis and the rest of the...
There's lots of
folks. Lots of
I'm sure there's folks in other time zones too. I know we got a couple in Hawaii. I don't know what time it is there. Like 3:30 in the morning?
Yeah, 6 back.
All right, they're up.
That's
They're still
insane.
up, actually. They haven't gone to bed yet, if I know them.
Wow.
So hi to all of you, and I'll be tweeting out a link in a second. I don't know if it ever comes through.
Right, it's through, man. It's there.
I don't have it.
Well, I tagged you on that tweet, my brother. And
there it is. Okay.
Mike, hello, good morning to Mike Kerr. Although I should put this on the recording.
Oh my God.
We're live. I'm checking out.
Join us with your comments. Your comments. This gets to me after a while, the predictive text. It tells you what you're trying to compose something, and it gives you the suggestions. These are words that are common with those words. Oh, I like that expression.
Saves you all those valuable seconds.
All right. So for those of you joining us right now, this is the red carpet prior to the podcast, the Hebsy on Sports podcast, episode 235. I'm Mark Hebscher. If you don't know, I have a rich history. Well, checkered history in the broadcast business, the sports broadcast business. That's another show. And currently enjoying life as your host on Friday mornings live, and whenever the hell you're, want to listen to the podcast or watch this again. And I'm a Toronto sports fan, grew up a Toronto sports fan, became a Toronto journalist, had to separate myself. Sports fan, journalist. Want the Leafs to win? Have to be honest. Leafs suck. Stuff like that. Big fan of the Blue Jays when they started. They sucked, but I was a fan. Became a broadcaster, became a journalist, a reporter. Why do they suck? Let's delve into that. And that whole roller coaster of it. So if you're a fan and you think it's easy to just watch the games and be objective, that's the toughest thing in the world to do, to separate yourself. Like, can you imagine Steve Dangle, like becoming a journalist, quote unquote? Like now he's covering the team. His reporting has to be balanced. It has to be, there has to be some investigation into it. If you're a reporter, you have to ask the right questions. Can you imagine? All right, Steve, we know that you're the biggest Leaf fan in the world and all that stuff that you do, but now you have to be objective. That would be tough.
I don't think
you'd have to give up a part of your soul for that, right?
Yeah, of course you do.
That's what I did.
You got to stop being a fanboy.
That's what I did when I became a journalist, when it came to the Maple Leafs, when it came to the Argos, when it came to the Blue Jays. The problem was I was working for organizations that were partners with these sports teams, right, that had deals going, radio deals and television deals, sure, and marketing deals with them. Your partners. You can't say those things about your partner if they suck, when they suck, which they always did, suck. And then at the same time, when they go get a Doug Flutie and they win a Grey Cup or two, you go, all right, great move. Excellent move by the organization. Oh, Gretzky and Candy and McNall bought the team. Oh, we got Rocket Ismail. Oh, Matt Dunnigan. Oh, yeah, that was fun. But when the time came that you had to be brutally honest, you had to be brutally honest, or you weren't much of a reporter as far as I was concerned. Anyway, that's my rant. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great show.
Honestly, that was too good for the red carpet. You should say
what?
That was too good. That was too good for the red carpet. That's worthy of the podcast.
The red carpet viewers?
Oh, so we're going to...
calling them second-class citizens? Is that what you're doing?
Well, there's just fewer of them.
You got the lawnmower there?
Yeah, it's right here.
All right. Hey, folks, this is the deal. Before I even do the podcast, I have to tell you this, all right? That these guys are giving me a bit of a hard time. We're not selling enough. That's really what it comes down to. They're saying, look, we're not selling enough. We're not going to waste our time with you if we're not selling enough. I said, dude, it's been 2 weeks. Give it time. Canadians sometimes take a little longer. So I'm telling you right now, if we don't sell enough of these, not these particular things, but if you don't go to Manscaped and get 20% off if you put Hebsy in there in the code, then they're just going to say, screw it. And then all me and Mike are going to have our nicely shaved balls and nothing else to show for it. Okay, so there you go. So please, for me, Father's Day is coming. Thank you. Are we ready to do the podcast?
We're ready to go here. Okay, my friend. I'm recording in 5, 4, 3. Oh,
the following podcast is brought to you by
stop the
Golf
press.
and Country Club.
Can you hear me? Stop. Okay.
Yeah. What did you do?
Because I need a moment. I'm sorry.
Okay. When I see you go like this,
I know.
reading.
It's only when I press record that I realize there was actually something wrong.
Isn't this great? Isn't this great insight, folks?
All right. Stand by. That's because I tore it all down last night and then I rebuilt it quickly here. Okay. My bad. Hold on. Stand by. It's better to catch it 5 seconds in than like 50 minutes in. So, all right, June 4. Let's see here. Test. Okay, we're good to go here. All right, new countdown. This one's gonna matter. 5, 4, 3.
The following podcast is brought to you by Crosswinds Golf and Country Club in Burlington. All right, golf is back in Ontario, and the courses are getting crowded, so you better make tracks to play Crosswinds. I'll be playing it tomorrow afternoon, and I can hardly wait to take on the diabolical 5th hole with the Island Green. Made birdie there last week, going for the ace tomorrow. I've never made a hole-in-one in my career. I'm going to make one tomorrow. Wow. Nestled between Rattlesnake Point and Mount Nemo on the Niagara Escarpment, Crosswinds offers billion-dollar views because real estate's going up. Fabulous golf, super nice people, and a commitment to excellence above all else. It's a public course, but you feel like you're a member there. So go to crosswindsgolf.com, book your tee time right there, and get out and enjoy yourself. It's a golfing experience like no other. Hope to see you there soon. Make sure you tell them at Crosswinds that Hebsy sent you. And now, let's begin the podcast. Live from Toronto, this is Sportsnet. Sorry. It's Hebsy on Sports, episode 235. Hi, everybody. Sports fans. Love you all. Mark Hebscher here, welcoming you to another exciting podcast episode with myself and the inimitable Toronto Mike, also known as Toronto Mike. Accept no invitation. Hey, what's going on? Somebody got a flashlight in your studio there? Who's playing around there?
What flashlight? What are you talking about?
I'm seeing lights coming through. It's like a home run at Salem Field. What was that right there?
Are you having a stroke?
No, Mike, there's lights that are flying through. Never mind. Forget it. This is the podcast listeners shouldn't have to deal with this. Did I introduce myself? I'm Mark Hebscher. That's Toronto Mike in the Mothership Studios. It's been 4 days since the Toronto Maple Leafs were eliminated by the Montreal Canadiens. So I've had a chance to calm down a bit, but only a bit. I'm still really pissed and I'm really humiliated and I'm disappointed in the way things worked out. And I'll try to articulate those thoughts without dropping a series of F-bombs that would make a sailor blush. We've also got the latest on the Blue Jays and a possible return for George Springer in July or August, maybe. Where's he going to hit in the lineup? What's going to happen there with George Springer? It's like, hey, George, really sorry. We got Marcus Semien leading off. He's just the player of the month. Sorry. Would you like 9th? Can I give you 9th in the batting order? The NBA playoffs have been wild. LeBron and the Lakers out. Kawhi and the Clippers on the brink of being out.
Wow.
Who'd have thunk it? What happened to that Western Conference final between the Lakers and the Clippers? Not going to happen. Mark Scheifele gets 4 games. Not enough, according to Habs fans. What do you think? Let us know. or live and interactive. Lots of sports media talk as we get into the Hockey Night in Canada panel. Can you name all 9 members of the panel? Sorry, all 11 members of the panel? Tim and Friends is actually Tim and Sid again. I saw it this week.
Okay.
Baseball Central, the terrible Blue Jays radio broadcasts, The Score being a bunch of idiots, radio ratings for the Fan in 1050, up to date, and lots more. But first, let's say hello to Toronto Mike.
Hebsy, I see what it is now. There seems to be something's catching the light, either the lens of the webcam or my coffee. I'm trying to duplicate it, like do it again. But yeah, I saw that UFO flying across my screen. Looks like a flashlight, but there's no one else down
again,
here.
the podcast listeners have no fucking
But
idea
they can go to your YouTube channel, which they should do anyways, and watch
it. They could, but why would they do that if they're listening to the podcast?
See what hat you're wearing today.
See, now here's the problem we're having. This is just like Buck Martinez and Pat Tabler and Dan Schulman and all of them. And you end up hearing the audio from Hazel May's interviews or Arash Madani's interviews or Jamie and Joe or whatever it is. You'll hear that on the radio broadcast occasionally because it sounds like an abortion taking place.
Whoa.
It's horrible.
An abomination.
It's wrong. It's wrong in so many ways. It's wrong morally. It's wrong. I know I'm going a little overboard with the abortion thing, but it's just wrong morally. You can't do this to someone. If I'm sight impaired and I cannot see the game on television, okay, but I'm used to listening to the audio of the television, it would drive me nuts. I would absolutely, if I was sight impaired, I would listen to the radio broadcast because that's for people who can't see the game. Specifically, why am I getting tortured by this? Why? This team could go all the way this year. They got the most exciting player in all of baseball. And now you hear is, if Vladdy's at the plate, and hey, did you ever hear about the time that, oh, there's a drive? You know, wait a minute. What was the count? Was it the 5th pitch in? Because you hear a story, and then out of nowhere you hear, hey, Bozak, oh, that's well hit.
Right.
Oh, God, it's just so aggravating.
Hey, Hebsy, if you were visually impaired, would you seek out the visiting team's radio call of the game?
I think I might. When I was doing radio late night phone-in shows, there were quite a few of my listeners that would phone in and let me know that they were blind or had were sight impaired, and how they loved the description, but not just of Tom and Jerry back in those days or Joe Bowen on the radio, but it was more than that. It was they sought out other radio broadcasts. Radio was their greatest friend. And so you would find those out of town broadcasts. They were your number one priority because you needed to hear the description. You could not listen to the TV version of it. It would drive me nuts.
Right. Hey,
I need that description.
On behalf of the listenership, could we please get an Otis update?
Yes. Here's what happened with Otis. So it's usually, I don't even know, it's a week or so that I've seen him. And out the back of my apartment is my laundry room. So I have to actually just go outside the apartment, just in behind, to the laundry room. And I'm there last week and doing my laundry, and I hear, like, it's him.
Wow.
He's back to his old little, because he used to come in the back door there, and he knew the laundry room and that. And I'm like, I was surprised. Hi. And he wants to get in the apartment now. He's at the back door like it's his old place. Like, hey, I want to go inside. I'm like, no, buddy. And he just wrapped himself around my leg once and then took off. Didn't see him.
How'd it feel to see him again, though?
Hang on, wait.
Okay, sorry.
Story continues. Next morning, I'm sitting out in the porch, as I want to do, and I'm having my coffee, and I see him strolling across the parking lot like he owns the neighborhood, which he does. He's just strolling across the parking lot, across the street. And my neighbor happens to be sitting next to me, and she's having her coffee. And there's Otis. He's dragging along like he had like an all-nighter. And I just call his name, and he looks up and nothing, and then takes off up the sidewalk, flying up the sidewalk. And then later, I see a rabbit go by, and then I see Otis fly by after the rabbit. And that's the last I saw of him. I don't know what happened to the rabbit. I didn't get an update. And that's, I don't know, 4 or 5 days ago.
Okay, but how did it feel when you did see him there and he wrapped himself around your leg? Like, did you feel any regrets, or are you happy with your decision?
No, I'm happy with my decision. And I think I could handle a little bit of that loving every so often.
Okay, good.
You know, once in a while, when it happens, it happens. It's a nice little surprise. I don't go looking for him, but he's in the neighborhood. And even when he was living with me part-time and I owned him or whatever, I still wouldn't. I see him the same amount of times, not very often.
Hebsy, I just want to say that's a great Otis update, but now I'm going to turn the channel and tell you that I'm totally digging my lawnmower 4.0 from Manscaped. My balls thank me on a regular basis now, and it's really nice to hear from them.
Beautiful. I need others to believe you and believe me that the Lawnmower 4.0 and all of Manscaped products are fantastic. And with Father's Day coming up, actually, it's not only coming up, Mike, I believe it's just around the corner.
It's the 20th, maybe, or something?
Just around the corner?
It's close.
So if it is, and your father happens to have, hair.
Or balls.
Well, make him proud of you. I mean, first of all, you came from his balls, basically. So why don't you look after the old man, all right? And while you're at it, maybe yourself and maybe a few other people. The Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0 is phenomenal. They also have other fantastic products like the Weed Whacker, because, sometimes you'll get like a bird's nest in your nose or in your ear and you won't know it. And then you look in the mirror and go, oh, God, I look awful. Well,
especially as we age, like this seems to be an aging phenomenon. Yes.
So do me a favor, please, because if this doesn't work out, these guys are going to fly the coop and their product is so good. Please, to get 20% off and free shipping, use the code Hebsy, Hebsy, at checkout. Go to manscaped.com. All right, please.
All right.
20% off and free shipping if you use the promo code Hebsy.
Well,
if we don't sell enough, they pull the plug, and then we don't want that, man. So I need your help because I need to wet my whistle. I need to dip my beak into. The show doesn't run on its own. I don't want to go on and on about this, but
no. I'll just say
coming up. Okay, manscaped.com, promo code Hebsy, 20% off plus free shipping, and it's like there in no time.
And it's a win-win. Honestly, if you love the program, if you enjoy the content that Hebsy provides every single week for years now, and it's so good, then you can support Hebsy, you can support the show by going to manscapedwithad.com. Buying, again, we've tried, this is legit. Like, my balls are thanking me. The Lawnmower 4.0 is what we bought. You can buy anything there. Use the promo code Hebsy, Hebsy. It helps the show, and you guys will get great product from a good company. So do it.
Now, do you subscribe to LinkedIn? Anybody out there on LinkedIn?
I do, yeah.
And what kind of benefits do you get from LinkedIn?
Oh, subscribe.
Like, do you get lots of messages from LinkedIn?
I use it quite a bit for professional networking.
Do you ever get notifications from them and from your followers, I guess, on LinkedIn, or your friends? What do they call it on LinkedIn? Followers?
I think it's followers.
Connections?
Connections, that might be it, yeah.
Do you get little things saying, hey, congratulations on your work anniversary?
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
Okay, so I don't know how to turn this off, but apparently, and I didn't know this, my work anniversary is in June and in October. And I can't find a way in the settings to do it. I don't use LinkedIn that often, once in a while.
I can help you because it's the date you put in.
I just keep getting it, but I noticed, and I've gone back in June and October. And like hundreds of people, and I don't know how to, I can't get back to each one of them saying, thanks very much. Whatever. Like, what do you do? First of all, does anyone really know their work anniversary?
Yeah, most people will update LinkedIn the first day of their new job. Literally, they put in that date, and now LinkedIn has the date. So, yes.
So please, folks, if you follow me on LinkedIn, and I appreciate it, I don't know if it's automatic, but every message is the same. It just says congratulations.
Well, there's suggested text, and they're saving time by clicking it.
There were 2 or 3 of them from friends of mine that were like, "Hey, Hebsy, how's it going? Congratulations on your work anniversary." But for the most part, they were all just the same.
But that's the idea. I will say this. I think that's kind of neat. That's how guys you worked with a long time ago are like, "Hey, congrats!" And next thing you know, you go, "Hey, what are you up to now?" And they're like, "Oh, I started this thing." And you're like, "Oh, I got a popular podcast." And he's like, "Oh, we should sponsor that podcast." And then you talk, and then the deal's made. That's kind of the idea.
I haven't had any of those. None of them have said that. And for me to go, "Hey, thanks very much. Did you know that my work anniversary is my podcast? And would you like to?"
Right. Okay. So I know that the everybody's right now just excitedly waiting for your take on what happened to the Toronto Maple Leafs. So just before you go into that, because I'm gonna shut up and listen. I can't wait to hear it. But I just want to say hi to just a few people real quick, because Mike Kerr, Brian Gerstein, Daniel Finkler, Dr. Hockey, KM, Gordon Enright, Wayne Brown, a whole bunch of people, Rob Gregg. These are folks who are on the YouTube page right now and actually commenting, and then I'm reading these in real time. So everybody who's listening on the podcast right now should make a date at 9:20 on Friday to go to Hebsy's YouTube and do the same, because it's interactive and fun. So let's see. And I have some good questions
I like
already.
the way you said interactive and fun.
Yeah.
Come on, show me some you're reading someone else's words here?
No, those were my words.
You need to
and
be
fun.
that person. Or you need to get those people on the phone so we can hear them say those things.
That was my words, interactive and fun.
Was it?
Yeah, that's my words.
It should be interactive and I don't know.
I got to be me, man. Hebsy, I got to be me. I'm here waiting
You're right.
to hear your Leafs take here. I can't be putting on shtick like Bobcat.
All right. Are you ready for my Leafs take? Or
I'm so ready.
I'm ready for my Leafs take?
I'm so ready.
Okay. All right. Do you want to cue me for my Leafs take? Ready? 3, 2, 1, Leafs take.
Rolling.
All right. How about this? Terrible, awful, humiliating. Okay. For disappointing. I don't want to hear the word disappoint. I'm disappointed. Sounding like a parent. I'm disappointed in you that you didn't get an A. You've been studying so hard. No, not disappointing. Humiliating. You're paying Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner all that money to score goals. Not to win the Selke Trophy, not to lead the league in plus minus, not to be saying, oh, those guys have got real sandpaper. They're rugged citizens. No. You pay them all that money to score goals. The problem is and was, and I told you this at the very beginning of the series, everybody, that Carey Price can get into your head. And if he gets into your head, you're done. Now, if you were to do a synopsis of the series, Mike, one sentence synopsis, would Carey Price be a part of that?
No, I don't think Carey was the difference.
You don't think so?
No. I don't think Carey Price was the difference in this series.
What were you watching?
Well, we put 4 past him and 5
guys.
past him. Okay, I think maybe Carey Price, just by his reputation, can get in your head, maybe. But I think that this team just the big guns with the big money, excluding Nylander, but he looks like a deal now. But I would say that they doesn't. Well, don't you think at 6.9?
He had a good 7-game series.
But he's been good in the last year's playoffs too. I thought Nylander. I think he steps up, but a lot of these guys just sort of wilt. Mitch Marner, particularly, and I want to hear your take on this. With Mitch Marner, I feel he's too soft on the puck. He seems to be just like floating out there, doing pretty regular season.
You weren't
stuff.
saying that during the regular season, though.
No, but he's a regular season performer. Like, he delivers in the regular season, and then when the playoffs start and it gets more physical and tighter, he seems to be too small almost.
Well, no doubt about that. He disappeared, but so did Austin Matthews. But I think he disappeared because of one particular play where he was robbed by a spectacular save by Price, right, who used the paddle as he dove across and got the paddle up over his head and stopped this like it was he had wired it. And Marner always scores those goals. Matthews always scores those goals all season long. That's all they did. They picked those spots. They never missed. And to be faced with a wide open net, a goal scorer like a Marner or anyone, you could ask Phil Esposito when he got robbed by Ken Dryden. You can ask any great goal scorer who was robbed by a goalie who was just hot. Man, he gets into your head and you think too much. And before you know it, you're trying to make a perfect shot because he looks so big in that net. And go back in the whole series, you tell me how many goals were clean goals where he was beaten cleanly by a shot, Carey Price. And I say the answer is 1. 1 goal was a clean shot. Do you know that goal by Jason Spezza, that beautiful 2-on-1 where he right to the net and tipped it, Price got a piece of that. He got leather on that. And like Spezza was shocked. I mean, those are the types of goals that they go in, the goalie doesn't even have a chance at. But the thing with Carey Price is and was, he can get into your head because he's so calm. He's so good. He's so technically good that you feel you have to make a perfect shot to beat him. And every shot that beat Carey Price was a tip in, was a deflection, was a screen, bounced in off someone's ankle, whatever it was. And Jack Campbell played great, but unfortunately for Jack Campbell, 2 egregious mistakes led to 2 overtime goals. So Carey Price plus 2 horrible mistakes Galchenyuk and Dermott. And how's that? Is that a good enough synopsis? Carey Price and 2 egregious errors. Not Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews. Because the Leafs were leading the series 3-1 without Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner scoring goals and without John Tavares.
Right. No, right. No, you're right.
And they knew, the Leaf players knew that every time they had a good scoring chance, they had to make a perfect shot that either went wide or was turned away by Price. They weren't themselves there. Mitch Marner was hesitating. When was he hesitating before? Bang. The other thing is that Rasmus Sandin, by default, became your number 1 power play defenseman because things weren't working with Morgan Riley. I mean, do you think that the Montreal was at any time during the series going, Leafs are going to get a power play. We're dead now. That Leaf power play. With the exception of a couple of that they nailed there, a couple of tips, the Leaf power play was nothing. And in fact, they should have been a lot more of a factor, but they weren't for most of the season. So, yeah, the Leafs had a great regular season without having a great power play with Matthews and Marner and Tavares and Nylander and Zach Hyman, I thought played really well. You got to sign him. So your big 4 are going to be big 5. They're going to be big 6 if you include Morgan Riley in that. I don't know. Who's your goalie going to be? Jack Campbell, I guess, from here on in. You re-sign him. He played great. But for the most part, yeah, you have to look at Marner and Matthews and say they didn't do their job. But at the same time, you have to look at Carey Price and go, boy, did he do his job. Because if it was any other goalie, really, if it was Vasilevsky or Connor Hellebuck, or it doesn't matter. I don't believe the Leafs thought they could beat Carey Price in that series. Once he made that save, and also once Austin Matthews smirked. Remember that time I mentioned it to you last week too, on the last episode, where he was being ragdolled and he just kind of smirked. He had that sort of, I don't know, porn star mustache, smirky kind of, I was a number 1 pick overall, cocky, we're a better team than you kind of an attitude. And right in front of Carey Price, who must have gone, these guys thinking, okay. And then when he made that stop on Marner,
right,
and he made another, and I'm trying to think which one it was, another amazing save.
A big save on Nylander, I remember early in the series. But
yeah, but that one on Marner was a yawning cage. Marner does not miss those. And goalies do not get their paddle up above their heads as they're diving across the goal crease to knock those shots away. Because that was a perfect shot. Well, almost perfect by Marner. That was headed for the top shelf, and that's where you're supposed to drill it when the goalie's diving across. That save alone might have been the turning point of the series, because for sure Marner was like, whoa, what do I have to do? And from then on, he was hesitant. And the only way you got Leaf goals was Muzzin tipping shots and guys in front of the net and going off ankles and deflections, and you weren't going to beat him clean. Breakaways. He stopped every breakaway.
Yeah, I mean,
2-on-1s, he stopped them.
Sure, but those
except for that Spezza goal,
right, that
he got a piece of, which was to be remarkable. So
I felt we were making Carey Price look pretty good, though. Like, there weren't a lot of great scoring opportunities after those 2 games. We had 2 games where we won easily. We won handedly 2 games in that series. Okay, like 1-4-0, 1-5-1. Okay, that's 9 goals in 2 games, and then 2 games went to overtime. But we actually had to battle back. We showed a little heart, actually, to force overtime. We did, but
that's the other thing, is you battle back from down 3-0 and then down 2-0, and both times you give it away.
Well, the first time we gave it away
with a move that, like, they were both like circled blind pass. The Dermott one, he just lost it trying to do a spinorama. And Galchenyuk, I have never, ever in my life seen a 2-on-0 breakaway in overtime.
Right.
I've never seen that before.
Right.
Who does that? I mean, Theron Fleury made the worst one where or Mark Messier when he set up Fleury in overtime, but that was 1-on-1. That was Fleury streaking across. There was 2 guys out there. What was Galchenyuk thinking? And then the first thing I thought of was, of course Montreal got rid of him. Of course every other team got rid of him, because he would do things like this at key times in the game.
Right.
And then ruin that 3-point night he had the night before.
Right. So let's talk about game 6 really quickly, and then I have one sentence to say about 7. But 6, I felt we were dominating overtime. So forget 5. We lost early in 5 on the 2-on-0. But 6, we forced the overtime, and then we really, like we were kicking ass in overtime, dominating. Like we really, like you're right about maybe Carey Price getting in our heads, but that was so. There was that, and then what I thought was like a gutless performance in Game 7 because I felt the Leafs were terrible in Game 7. Like it was that, and I felt it the 2 days or the day and a half we have before Game 7. I felt it the whole time. I felt it to a point where I braced myself for exactly what happened, and I felt zero emotion when the Leafs lost that Game 7. Like I wasn't angry. I wasn't even mad. I took down the pennant we put up in the window and said, well, fuck them. They sucked, and I moved on with my life.
You know what you were, Mike? You were resigned.
Right. I was resigned.
Everyone before Game 7 was resigned. We all wore black.
Right.
There weren't people running around wearing their Leaf jersey. Oh, there were some. We still believe and stuff like that. But for the most part, people who normally would have their Leaf jerseys on, which they had on for the 2 previous games where the Leafs could have eliminated Montreal, they didn't wear that for Game 7.
Right.
They were resigned.
So predictable.
And was the team resigned? Oh, no, they went out there and tried to win, of course. But I think when you know that the attitude of most people is, you know what? You had match point. You blew it. You came back.
Mm-hmm.
You fought back. You forced overtime, and then you fucked it up. And then 2 nights later, you had the exact same situation. You fought back. You got the crowd. You got your fans going, yes, this is our team. We've tied it up. We're going to win it.
Mm-hmm.
But then the fans went, this Carey Price, you're not going to score on him. We can't score on him. The only way we can score on him is if it goes in off a stick, a deflection. We're screwed. And that's when it sort of started to happen in the first overtime in Game 5, and then more so in Game 6 in the overtime, and then by the time Game 7 came, it was we can't beat these guys. We're not going to beat these guys, and they were right.
Do you think we win that series if Tavares doesn't get hurt?
No, we still don't win that series. One person's not going to make a difference. It's not. You know it as well as I do, Mike. There was an intent. There was something there where they just didn't perform. Was the checking by the Montreal defense and was Montreal's checking that good? No, yeah, you're darn right it was. They did a great job, job of which they still have not gotten credit for it because everything was Leafs collapse. Boy, Montreal played near perfect hockey. I mean, when you think about it, for a team that had no business being in the same rink as the Maple Leafs.
Right.
They played, and they also had, if I'm not mistaken, 4 former Stanley Cup winners. What did we have? We had 1 or 2. The guys that we brought up had been to the Stanley Cup Finals. Joe Thornton had been there.
Sure.
Wayne Simmons, I believe, had been there. But
Muzzin didn't play Game 7, so but he was your big Stanley Cup champion.
So,
right?
But Montreal had Corey Perry, Stahl, the defenseman, Joel Edmondson. I'm missing somebody else. But they have these veteran guys that stepped up in the playoffs who had all won Stanley Cups before, each and every one of them, and a gold medal winning goaltender who arguably is the best goaltender of his generation.
Yes.
Would that be a stretch?
No.
Okay. So that's what got that. There you go. So the Leafs have got to have better players, or the players they have to get better, which I suspect when you're 24, 25 years old, there's still room for improvement. Am I right?
But Hebsy,
you're stuck with these guys. You're not trading any of them. You're stuck with this core.
4 guys make half the salary cap.
Yeah. And now you've got to sign. I said you have to include Hyman in that group. He's a solid B+ or A- player.
Okay, but he's not going to make money like those big 4.
No. But I believe that Zach Hyman wants to stay in Toronto and will sign a friendly deal because he wants to play with Matthews and Marner and Nylander and Riley.
Hebsy, I'm going to just speak quickly here as a fan like yourself here, but I just was 18 years now without a playoff series victory. So we're 18 years without winning even a single round, okay? But what I think hurts more, or what is more disappointing about this year, not that I felt it after the Game 7 loss, but is that this was the year the Leafs were heavily favored. Like, this was the team I looked at in the regular season and said, hey, that's a good team. Final 4, here we come. Beating the Habs will be pretty easy. I predicted Leafs in 5. I was giving Habs that, what happened in the first game, basically, and then I figured we'll take the next 4. the fact we lost that series to the Montreal Canadiens with this squad that has has basically delivered those same results for the 6 years that these core guys have been together now. I just don't know what you do to make it anything different next year. Like how do you change things so that we actually win a round or two, or heaven forbid 3?
Oh no, you're screwed, Mike.
Yeah, we're
because
fucked,
this
right?
was their 1 year, their one opportunity, window of opportunity, where the first 2 rounds of the playoffs were going to be much easier than had they had to play Boston and Tampa,
right?
Who both, by the way, are well into the playoffs.
Right.
So that's what's going to happen starting next year again. So this was your 1 year where you could win the division. Like, for example, do you think next year at the Scotiabank Arena they're going to unfurl the flag, Northern Division champions?
I hope not.
2021? No, because it means squat.
Right.
But this was the year that, look at our competition. We can win 2 rounds of the playoffs, satisfy our fans, and go and be part of the Final Four. I mean, because next year, not going to happen. You're going to have to beat the crap out of Boston and Tampa, or you're not going to get a good playoff position.
Right.
You're not going to get to play the 4th ranked team in your division like they did this year. You're going to be in tough. And so the regular season, you're going to have to work that much harder in the regular season, and you're going to be gassed in the playoffs, or you're going to come up against Tampa, or oh my God, or Marchand in Boston again. These teams that you can't beat in the playoffs, you haven't beaten in the playoffs. What makes you think you're going to beat them next year after battling them all season long? So good luck with that. This was your year. Couple of mediocre matchups. We're going to have to beat Montreal and Winnipeg. Ooh.
Right. I know. This is good as it gets. This was the year.
Whoa. So now Montreal Winnipeg to me is looked at as sort of like first of all, the Northern Division is the worst division. The winner's going to end up playing Colorado, if I'm not mistaken. Good luck with that.
Right.
So that's your hockey story.
Are you watching Winnipeg and Montreal? Is that a series?
What do I need to watch?
Yeah,
Winnipeg and Montreal. Let me know when the series gets interesting. It's the first game. I just finished watching the Leafs. I need a break. Right. I can watch a bit of highlights here and there, but I'm not going to sit and watch the game. And I can't watch those intermissions. I cannot watch those.
All right, let's talk about that. Because
hang on. Before we get to it, I need to a little call out on the Score television network. No, that's not a television network anymore. They're just a digital service, right? So I'm not a fan of kicking somebody when they're down. Wait, did I just say that? Not in the way that some people have kicked Mitch Marner, especially. And so what happened was, and I don't know if you saw it, and it was a piece of shit, but the Score made fun of Marner. They did a GIF or whatever you call it. They superimposed his head on a little kid who was having trouble skating, mommy, or stuff like that. It was really childish. Something that if a fan did, you'd go, oh, that's cute. I mean, it's not. But here's the Score, an app which I have and I utilize. And I know John Levy, who is the owner, but still, man, you're supposed to. You're a media outlet. You're media, and to do something low like this, to say, hey, let's make fun of Mitch Marner by superimposing his head on a little kid and then posting it is just unprofessional.
You know what we call those?
I really question their credibility for this. I think it's just wrong.
That's called shit posting.
Yeah. So
they're shit posting.
So whoever's responsible, and like be a man or be a woman, if you want,
an adult,
and apologize.
Hebsy, man.
You don't think a woman would be capable of posting that?
No, I said
only a man. Is that what you're saying?
No, I said be an adult. You said that's the better name.
Well, you're assuming that they have adults working there that are doing this, not like a 16-year-old.
Be mature about this.
I'm going to make fun of Marner.
But this is based on the rumblings we've been hearing from certain hockey insiders who are suggesting Marner didn't want to comply with like
how do
power
these people
play.
know? They can't get close to the players. This is what I want to know. How does this come out? Who would say something like this? Marner doesn't want to take this position on the power play. And when you saw his answer to it in the press conference, he was like, I can't believe I'm answering this shit. And this is where people like Naomi Osaka are going, oh, come on.
Oh, we have
you're just trolling here. You're just poking the bear here.
Is she on the agenda today? Because I need to talk to you about that. Okay.
If you want to bring it up.
I will bring it up when it's tennis time.
I will too. Okay. I will too. Because, she clarified things.
Okay,
she wasn't quite clear initially. And then she clarified things.
Okay, we need to discuss because you were a little harsh.
Oh no, I wasn't a little harsh on her
Well, we're
because
gonna
of the
discuss.
information that I had. I was,
Right.
it was, but had she mentioned in the first place that she was suffering from anxiety and depression, and that's why she refused to do media interviews, that's different. But she never said that. She said, I don't want people questioning my abilities. She didn't say I am suffering from depression and anxiety and can't do that. She later clarified it by saying I'm suffering, and then she withdrew.
You had
she
some,
wasn't clear, and her sister didn't help with that. But if you want, we'll get into that
You
later.
had some hot takes last week. Okay. Yeah, let's talk about the Hockey Night in Canada intermissions. Are they shit posting over there? What's going on?
I'm not going to miss any of that airy badinage on the intermissions. I had enough of it. First of all, what happened to Christine Simpson? Where's Chris Simpson? I always thought that her interviews were thoughtful. I thought her features were good. I thought she always got a lot good stuff out of her interviewees. She disappeared.
She would have the Kyle Bukakis spot, right? I see a lot.
Hey, I'm just saying, you're promoting women. You've got what's her name?
But is she doing the other series? Who's doing the other series?
Away about women's hockey, showing women's hockey highlights. Oh, here's the highlights from the game between Toronto and Montreal, and just a bunch of highlights. No, I don't know who these women are. Show me a picture of them without their uniforms on. Where are they from? Give me a bit of background instead of just showing a highlight package because, we got to have the women's highlights in there.
Right.
Like, what a bunch of nonsense is that? And where's Chris Simpson? Again, you got Cassie Campbell. She's great. You got Jen Botterill. She's working on it. Where's Chris Simpson?
Did Chris Simpson work the Oilers Jet series, which I did not watch?
I don't know, man, but still, I'm not seeing her.
Okay.
I don't see Caroline Cameron.
So you don't think
everybody at Sportsnet that does hockey except for Jeff Merrick's not on these broadcasts either? None of them?
That's true.
So these are people you see all year long, and then what happens? They didn't get the assignment in the playoffs?
So Hebsy,
everyone's on the air there. Everybody.
When they run these highlights from the women's games, because I did see they'd be...
I hated it.
It's because you need the context, right? Because these are unknown names to us, and we need to have some kind of
I hated
perspective.
Look, I get that Hockey Night in Canada has to be politically correct. It has to represent Canadian views. I understand it. All right, more than anyone else. I'm Canadian. I get that. But you got to have a balance in there. It can't all be about what's politically correct. I'm there to watch the hockey game. Okay? News and commentary I can get from somewhere else. Okay? But I don't need this. Okay, we have to get the women in. We have to get that story in there about, no, if you're going to do it, give me a story about the two teams that are playing in the highlight package that you're about to show us. Show me what this woman looks like. Give me something more than just, a wide shot of a woman with a ponytail wearing a bird cage, raising up her arms and hearing her name for 3 seconds. Not even where she's from. No background. Is she an Olympic player? Nothing. How do you expect us to be interested in women's hockey if you won't tell us about these people? Like, take an intermission and say, we want to concentrate on the women's hockey now. Big support for it. Here's the key players. Here's the superstars. Like you do with the WNBA, right? That's what they do.
Right.
But instead, it's this all of a sudden, it's like, all right, you got some highlights for us? Yeah, we're going to have Boston, Tampa Bay. No, we're not. We're going to have the Toronto I don't knows versus the Montreal I don't cares. From I don't know where. Terrible. Really, if you're going to do something, do it right. Okay? Give me the goods. Okay? You want to throw your support behind women's hockey? I'm all for it. Then throw your support behind it. Send your best reporters out there. Give me some good stuff. I'm interested. I am. But I'm not interested in seeing disembodied voices and highlights and people I have no idea who they are or what these teams are or what this league is. The Secret Cup. What was it called?
Yeah, the Secret. Yes, the underarm deodorant.
Okay. Whatever. And on the Hockey Night in Canada broadcast, it's Ron McLean or David Amber. They're just basically, for the most part, they're throwing to a panelist who talks for 45 seconds about something we already saw or we already knew. For the most part, there are times. But sort of it's like, Kelly, Jack Campbell. And then Kelly goes on for 45 seconds about Jack Campbell. And then, Jen.
Okay, Jen, yeah.
Nazem Kadri. And then let's go to David Amber, Elliott, Joe Blow. So it's just, I don't know, there's just too much of it. I watched the stuff on NBC. It's so good. Now, time for our intermission. Let's go. Boom. Here we go, Anson Carter, right back and forth. This is what's going on. That set up that highlight. Look what he does here. Look what he does there. He's got to be better than that. That's not good. Boom, over to the other guy. Really good commentary, okay? And it's crisp and it's well directed, and it's not, 18 people with everybody making a comment for 30 seconds. There's more to it than that. And there's some debate, and there's arguments sometimes. And there's finger pointing.
So how did Hockey Night in Canada lose its way? Like when did this
Well, they had Cherry for one intermission for how many years?
Oh, a long time, yeah.
Controversy, debate, argument, issues.
Yeah, decades of Don Cherry for sure. Okay, because even the Al Strachan stuff that used to,
and they would have
the
features which
Hot
they
Stove
just don't
Lounge.
produce anymore.
Do you think any of this is COVID related, or is it just that Rogers is going to play it safe here on in?
Well, Rogers has spent enough money. You can see Rogers doesn't spend money on look at the Jays broadcasts, and they're not spending money on radio. It's horrible. They're cheapskates. They won't send anyone to Buffalo.
Well, that makes little sense considering they own the team and spend the money on the team. At some point, I hear Springer's going to play for this team. Like, that was a big money contract. So, okay.
We'll get to that in a second.
Right.
Anyway, the U.S. coverage is better. It's going to be better when they have ESPN and Turner next year. They signed Gretzky. Believe me, they're not going to set him up to fail. It's going to be, I would love to be able to watch those broadcasts. I don't think we're going to be able to here in Canada to see those intermissions.
Illegal streams, my friend.
That's it. So, all right. So I've kicked the crap out of the intermissions. What else? Oh, yeah. I haven't been paying that much attention, but I do know that the Bruins took a 2-1 series lead on the Islanders last night with a 2-1 OT victory thanks to Brad Marchand of Boston. The Hurricanes got a goal from Jordan Stahl in overtime, beat Tampa 3-2. So the Bolts still lead that series 2-1 tonight. Colorado up 2-0 on Vegas. Wow, this team is good. The Golden Knights hosting them tonight in the Sin City, and the Winnipeg Jets minus Mark Scheifele take on Montreal down 1 game to none, 1 game
Right.
to 0. 4-game suspension for Mark Scheifele yesterday for his vicious head hit on Jake Evans at the end of game 1. Evans out indefinitely with concussion. That means, Mike, if the series goes 6 games, the Habs will have a chance at retribution when Scheifele comes back into the lineup. Do you think 4 games was the appropriate number of games to be suspended for that hit?
Probably, but what does Hebsy think?
Well, I think that you should have made it for the remainder of the series. The fact of the matter is that if he comes back in this series and is a factor in Winnipeg winning the series, and Evans hasn't fully recovered from his concussion or doesn't come back in, you're going to have a lot of people looking back at that highlight, and it was vicious. And he skated the length of the ice and had a tremendous amount of force when he hit him unnecessarily,
now,
I think.
Gordon Enright on your YouTube page says that he thought he'd get fewer games than Kadri because he's not a repeat offender like Kadri.
Yeah, it's hard to take what Kadri does and what he did and compare the two totally different situations, I think. Open ice hit versus a guy that's coming around the back of the net and you've just skated full speed. And the puck was already in the net when contact was made. Yeah, he didn't let up at all.
Right.
And to me, it would be the same thing as if in football, I had just caught the touchdown pass, right? Yet you had catapulted yourself at me, at my head,
right,
in order to make contact when you knew that it wouldn't have made a difference. That even if you would have jarred the ball loose, I had already had the touchdown.
Right.
That's expulsion from the game. That's a suspension. That's intent to injure, all of it. So I think he should have been suspended for the series. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Now, before we get to baseball, I'm going to ask you about Bob McCowan. Just this week, I was talking to Rob Cowan, who you worked with at CKFH.
That's right.
He reminded us
and
all.
CJCL
and
when it changed its
CJCL.
call letters.
And he was the first guy, actually. He tells me he's the first guy on the air to say CJCL. Like he said those call letters on the air. He was the first guy.
Wow.
So that's his claim. And the last guy to say
That's his
CKFH.
claim. That's not his claim to. It can't be his claim to fame. He
That's
was
his
the first
legacy.
to say CJCL.
He looks a bit like David Crosby now. I don't know, in the photo, I was looking at the photo and said, hey, did I have David Crosby over? Anyway, this is all to say that you took over, of course, doing Jays Talk or whatever it was called at the time. What did you call the program where you took the calls after Jays games? What was the name of that program when you did it?
Oh, jeez, I don't know.
Was it called?
I
It
mean,
wasn't called Jays
Bob's
Talk.
show was called Talking of Sports.
Right. Okay. Because you take
When
over
I took
for Bob.
over the show, I don't remember what the
Okay.
name of the
Well,
show
if you don't
was.
remember, okay.
The post-game show? I
I like
really
to know these details.
cannot remember. The phone number was 870-9115.
You remember that. I'm here to ask, so Bob McCowan had a podcast. I think he still has it. And it would be aired on a Mississauga station called Saga 960. Okay.
Right.
Mike Richards does mornings on
Not
this show.
anymore.
Right. He's gone from the lineup. Nobody, I mean, maybe 5 people who pay attention to these things. You, me, Mike in Boston, Brian Gerstein. Like 5 people noticed, okay? No one
That's
noticed.
really narrow casting, Mike.
I know. Nobody noticed. Bob's no longer on this station. This was his big triumphant return to radio. Do you have any insight into what happened? Do you think maybe
he
Bob
wasn't
asked?
making any money.
No. That's what do you think maybe he asked for money and then they just deleted him from the website and said?
I don't think so. I think the opportunity came along. It was a chance for Bob's show to be rebroadcast somewhere else for different ears to hear it. Right.
Right.
And why not? If someone said, Mike, I'd like to distribute your show to many more ears than you can possibly get to.
But that's not 960.
No, but I'm saying to many more ears, and you're going on, another couple hundred people or 20 more people. It's 20 more people I have listening to my show than I had before.
But no money
Doesn't
changes
cost me
hands.
anything. I'm not making any money from it.
No money changes hands. A very poor signaled, low listenership station says we want to air your podcast. It's not a slam dunk. Go ahead to me. Like I need to.
Why are we giving radio all this play? I mean, is radio not?
I was just curious if you knew why Bobcat was no longer on 960. If you don't know, that's cool. But okay, I thought that was
no
interesting.
idea. I got other things to concern myself with rather than what
do you
Bob
think? So let me ask
where
this:
I can get Bob McCowan on the airwaves.
Do you think by Labor Day 2021 that Bobcat is returning to 590 as the afternoon drive host?
No.
You think there's zero chance?
I think there's zero chance.
I have it at a greater than zero chance.
No, I can't say zero chance because who knows? But
because they have a new management.
Let's say 1 in 10, where one of the deep thinkers goes, you know what? The only way we're going to make money with this radio venture is we got to have McCowan back, and we got to turn it into a podcast as well. And we got to make money from the podcast as well. So what you're doing is you're taking an entity for whatever 3 hours. You're gaining as much revenue as you possibly can. And Bob will draw some numbers, no doubt. And the advertisers will come back. I don't know what kind of rates. And then at the same time, what you do is you take each hour of the podcast individually and you sell podcast time. So now when you're listening to the podcast at 10 o'clock at night, because you weren't there at 5 in the afternoon to hear it on the radio, and you're listening to it for your evening walk with the dog or whatever it is, you're hearing spots now that the sponsors want you to hear, that they're going to have to pay additional money for if you get enough live streams or you get enough downloads of the podcast. So now it's like, well, guess what? We just got 3,000 downloads of the podcast. Well, okay, what are those ads worth? Now you go to the advertiser and say you had this many listeners on radio, plus this many on the digital. That's this many. Here's how much the rate is.
Sure, but what you're saying makes some sense.
You make money, he makes money.
Yeah.
And you've got a proven entity on the airwaves. And if people aren't listening live between 4 and 7, maybe you've got a bunch of downloads where wow, look at this. Because I would listen later. I would. If I went for my walk, I'd listen to hour 1 of McCowan's show.
Yeah.
And if it was good, like it normally is, and he had good guests and it was interesting topics, great. If it happened to be taking place, I'm listening to it after the game that night, well, so be it. So what?
Well, let me ask you this. So you said you would go listen to Bobcat. Do you listen to Bobcat? Has a podcast now. Do you listen?
No. No. Does he have the podcast?
Yeah, he's got a podcast. Like you're saying, I would listen for a walk. I'd go listen to Bob McCown's podcast. Meanwhile, he's dropping one every day, and I don't think
every day.
I think so. like 3 or 4.
You don't know
5.
what you're talking about.
I think so. I think he's got.
You're full of it, man.
I'm not full of it. I
he
think
does
Bobcat,
it when he wants to.
I don't think so. I think he's doing.
He's not doing one every day.
Every weekday, I think. If anybody on YouTube has the answer,
get back
type
to me
it out.
on that
and
one.
then, I believe he's doing
Get
it
back to me.
4 or 5 days a week.
Baseball,
okay, let's talk baseball,
please. Thank you. The Blue Jays have a new home, Buffalo's Salem Field, and even without George Springer, they're proving to be one of the most exciting teams in the Major Leagues. Vladdy is absolutely on fire, and I just can't miss any of his at-bats. Mike, appointment viewing television is Vladdy's at-bats.
So I should buy the package.
I could be doing anything else, whatever, the Vladdy coming up. Oh, my ears perk up. I got to see this. But occasionally I'm somewhere where I don't have video and I need to hear it. And so now here comes Vladdy with the bases loaded, and I need to hear a play-by-play, and I'm not getting it. And it's incredibly frustrating, especially with Vladdy. And now that there's fans in the stands and you hear the ooh and the ah, the real fans, not the recorded stuff that some guys, riding the pot. Okay, well, here's a good chance to bring the crowd up. That sounds so phony now, because it was. Right. So you hear the crowd and you're like, okay, what's happening? And Buck and Pat are telling a story. At least with Dan, if Dan's doing the games, and Dan doesn't do home games, which means any of the games from Buffalo, Dan won't be doing. At least with Dan, he realized it. 0-2, or he took a pitch for a ball 1, and that's in there for a strike. But you don't get that at all with Buck and Pat, and it's not their fault, because their producer is not saying, make sure you talk about the radio audience, make sure you let the radio audience know. Sometimes they'll catch on. So it's very frustrating. So Vladdy the other night goes 4 for 4. He needs a triple for the cycle on his 4th at bat. Instead, he rips a single into right field. And then his first at bat the next day is a triple, which would have been the cycle, would have been great. Anyway, listen to this, Mike. Yeah. Vladdy is leading the major leagues in OPS. All right? At 1.105. Wow. That's phenomenal. 1,100. Are you kidding me? Home runs tied for the major league lead with Ronald Acuna Jr. with 17 dingers. Wow. And second to Jose Abreu with 45 RBI. So that's Triple Crown numbers, because his 335 average leads the American League. And not just leads the American League by 13 points over JD Martinez in second place, and by 23 points over his teammate Xander Bogaerts. Now, yeah, it's only June. I get it. He could go into slumps. Dude's hitting 335. Nobody close to him that qualifies for the batting title. Do you have any idea what it takes to win a batting title? John Olerud, I believe, was our last batting title
360,
champion.
I think, if I remember correctly.
Was he even more than that?
I thought he was 360.
In the 360, yeah, man, wild. 360. Anyway, Vladdy. And he's playing first base, man. He's like a ballerina at first base now. His footwork is beautiful. He can catch anything near him. He's not trying to make plays that are impossible. He realizes what his capabilities are. He's good with the short hops now, and I think his infielders have a lot more confidence in him that they can make a bad throw and he can help them out. Dude's going to win a Gold Glove.
Wow.
He's got 1 error.
Wow.
Or as Buck Martinez would say, error. He's got 1 error this year. All right, tonight, the Houston assholes come to Buffalo. Zach Greinke versus Jin Ryu in the mound matchup. It's the first of 13 straight games against teams in playoff positions. So this is going to go a long way to see how good this team really is. And it sure would be nice to have George Springer in the lineup, but the Blue Jays are still being cautious. Springer is apparently running without pain. So am I. Pretty soon, although not in the next few days, he's going to go on a rehab assignment and then make his way into the lineup. A week, 2 weeks, July, we don't know. All we know is this: Charlie Montoyo will have a nice problem when he tries to slot the $150 million mystery man into this already powerful lineup. Wow. Leading off? I don't think so. We got Marcus Semien, player of the month, hitting leadoff. Second, we got Bo. Third, we got Vladdy. Maybe Springer might bat 9th. Or how about this, George? Do you mind hitting 7th before you get back into it? And when he comes back, he's not going to come back as a DH, right? He's going to come back as your center fielder,
right? So
now what do? You going to sit Grichuk? Sit Gurriel? You're not going to sit Teoscar. Nice problem to have. And when we get him, then we'll see what kind of lineup we've got. Because the pitching is kind of coming around a little bit, kind of, with all the injuries and everything. The pitching doesn't look that bad. I know Manoah got pulled from his second, so I get it, but I think he'll be okay. Mats might be the real thing, except he's the unluckiest pitcher I've ever seen. This poor guy. And we got Ryu, and we got Robbie Ray, and our bullpen is getting a little healthier. The only problem is we got Charlie Montoyo as a manager. This guy doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. This guy doesn't have anybody warming up. When your pitcher walks 4 guys in a row, and you haven't got someone warming up, as soon as he walks the leadoff guy on 4 pitches, the bullpen is up.
I'm glad you brought
2
this
guys
up.
up.
I'm glad you brought this up.
I don't care when they pitched.
So what's the explanation here? Like, that seems to be terrible in-game managing.
I told you, Mike. Charlie Montoyo might be the best manager to have when you're developing talent, when you're putting a core unit together, cohesiveness. You know what I mean? Cohesiveness. Just having a locker room, I guess, where everybody loves each other and, kumbaya stuff. But when it comes to in-game managing, he's awful. He needs a bench coach. He needs to go, what do we do now?
Right.
And as far as managing a bullpen goes, I mean, come on, you got to have guys warm. And the other day, I'm trying to think, he had somebody. Oh, I know what it was. He's got Jordan Romano warming up. Romano's in a save situation. The Jays are up by 3. So he's got him warming up. And then, I think it was in Cleveland. And then the Jays score another run. So now it's not a save situation. I believe the score is now 7-3 instead of 6-3, let's say. So now they're going to bring in Romano. And I hate when they do this. I hate it. You should always have 2 guys warming up. You have 1 guy warming up in a save situation like Romano. The other guy warming up is your not as good reliever, and that's if the Jays get another run. Because you don't bring in a closer in a non-save situation, unless there's no other option. So the mistake Montoyo made was saying, okay, Romano, you're in the game, but it's not a save situation. He's not focused the same way. He's got a 4-run lead. I can afford to nibble. I can whatever. But if you've got the 3-run lead and you're in a save situation, and a save is good for the stats, looks good when you go to negotiate your contract, it's a different mental state. I've spoken to relievers about this. You're in a save situation, you're focused. You're in a non-save situation, I can afford to give up a hit, a home run. I got a big lead. So the mistake is if Montoyo has somebody else warming up, Piamps or whoever, that guy goes in a non-safe situation. And if he gets into trouble, then you bring in Romano.
Can Walker call for a pitcher to start warming up? Like, does he have to run this by Charlie? Like, how does it work in that bullpen? Okay, well,
he's got to say,
so
but you're right. I mean, if we could get to Walker and say, Pete, did you ask Charlie? But he's not going to throw Charlie under the bus. Oh, geez, don't use that expression, Mark, please.
How long until...
But you know what I mean? I mean, Walker's not going to go, hey, Charlie, I think we should have somebody warming up. And Charlie's going, no. Let him work his way out. I trust him. Okay, Charlie, if you trust him. I trust him.
Is John Gibbons coming back for a 3rd tour of duty?
No. It's not that bad yet. But I mean, the other night, for example, he pinched. Jays are down by 2. Reese McGuire leads off with a base hit. When Reese McGuire gets to second, Charlie decides to pinch run for him with Jonathan Davis. I go, why would he do that? The run means nothing. It's the runner at first base that means something. It's Simeon at first. He's the tying run.
Right.
Reese McGuire makes no difference if it's Reese McGuire or Jonathan Davis. So why is he bringing in Jonathan Davis? Number one, he's going to have to bring in Danny Jansen to catch if that's his intention, but I don't think so. And the other one is, why waste Jonathan Davis when you might need him as a pinch runner in a tie game? So his run, the 4th run, meant nothing. He pinch runs for him. It didn't make a difference in the end because they ended up winning it. But still, I thought that was an odd move. And then there was another time where, again, he didn't have 2 guys warming up. He only had 1 guy warming up. Why not? Is he so worried that if the guy throws 10 pitches, and he doesn't come into the game that he won't be able to pitch the next day? Is it that bad that if a guy warms up in the bullpen and isn't used that night, you can't use him the next day? I don't think so. Anyway. Baseball Central's a good show. I like it. I like seeing inside baseball stuff. And Joe Siddall delivers that. Jamie Campbell sets them up nicely. They talk about it in advance. He goes, I got a highlight here that shows something that just wasn't brought up on the broadcast at all. Inside stuff. I love that. I don't care what the sport is, but for baseball, there's just something about it. And Joe, being a former catcher, just has the knack of saying, and not being condescending, I played Major League Baseball. You didn't. And
right. You mean like
Venus Williams the other day when she explained when she's answering questions. She goes, I know the person asking the question is nowhere near as good a tennis player as me, and I could beat them every time. Right. And knowing that, I respond accordingly. So Siddle does a good job of this. Him and Jamie do a good job presenting this. And so when he's not on, and Vernon Wells is on sitting at his home, or Justin Morneau is on sitting at his home in Minneapolis, you really lose something, I think, on that show. They're both, they were excellent ball players, but they're great on Twitter, I'm sure, whatever, but it just doesn't translate into, and it's especially difficult when they're sitting somewhere else. But they just don't have what Joe has. I don't understand why Joe's not there all the time, giving his insight. To me, it's like having just different people, who's going to be on the panel today. Flip a coin. We don't know. I like the consistency of Charles, Kenny the Jet, Shaq, and Ernie. I like the consistency of, James Duthie, Darren Drager, Dave Poulin, Jeff O'Neill, Bob McCann. I like that. But I just don't like this. Who's on now? Is that Vernon Wells? What's he?
So you'd like it to be Joe and Jamie every single time?
Well, yeah, I think for the most part, yeah, I'd like that consistency there. Justin Morneau is there.
So speaking of consistency,
and John Axford they had on before that too. He's pitching for Canada Baseball now.
Speaking of consistency, so
why are they bringing these guys out?
Well, so Dan Shulman only does the road games from his home in Toronto. That's right.
That's right.
Okay, so is that just him saying I don't want to travel? Why the heck can't we get Dan?
Well, no international travel. You can't. There is no international travel.
Yeah, well, I mean
if you're here,
right?
you got to stay here. If he goes back to the States and comes back, he has to quarantine again.
Okay, but he's already doing stuff from home. He can quarantine and do stuff from his home for 14 days or whatever the rule set is.
So what do you suggest? That he goes to
Shulman
Buffalo?
should go to Buffalo, yeah, and maybe
come home.
Well, maybe live there for the rest of the year. I know he's got a family. Is that so? I'm just saying that
you're not going to go and live there.
So he basically said no for family reasons. He doesn't want to.
I don't know, but I think that in this situation, since everybody's doing it remotely, for the most part, they're saving money by not sending someone to Buffalo. Like Ben Wagner was in Buffalo for years. He worked there. I mean, why, if he's in Dunedin, why wouldn't you say, Ben, go to Buffalo and at least be our reporter there? There's no boots on the ground in Buffalo. Okay. The other night, the game is on and Pat Tabler's going, looks like it's raining harder. Dude, the guy's is sitting in Cincinnati and he's looking at a monitor. He's looking at the raindrops coming down. It looks like it's a hailstorm. And he's trying to predict what's going on. I mean, it's
and
wrong.
All these.
Let's go to Ben Wagner in Buffalo. Ben, what's going on? Yeah, it's really coming down here right now, Pat. It's pouring, and they may call this game. But you got no boots on the ground there.
It's just strange because all these American-based people like Ben and Buck and Pat, they're all fully vaccinated for a long time at this point.
I think so.
Of course, like unless they're anti-vaxxers, they're fully vaccinated. Everyone down there.
Don't say that.
Well, unless I don't know their opinions on it. So Dan might only have the one shot, maybe if he's here. Like he might not yet. Although at his age, he actually might have a second shot. I don't know. I mean, our friend Humble Howard got a second shot, so if he got it, Dan can get it.
Too much speculation for me.
All right.
Here's some radio numbers for you because I follow the Fan and I follow TSN 1050, and that's my job here as your media critic, I guess. From last Thursday, that morning of Game 5 of the Leafs Habs series, here's your numbers. Morning shows: 590, a 1.7 share; 1050, a 0.4. That's during the height of the playoffs. Leafs Habs. On the afternoon drive that day, on 590, a 4.0 for Tim and Friends.
Oh,
overdrive 3.9.
Ooh, nail biter.
And by the way, Jays radio is awful and embarrassing. I can't stress this enough. You cannot follow the play, and the Jays must do something. They must. Because it would be a real shame to not be able to listen to an actual radio broadcast when this team is in the playoffs, or we have to start looking for the visiting team's broadcasts. It would be a real shame.
Hey,
give us some good audio, okay? Really.
Now, just to go back to those morning show numbers real quick, just so the lay people know what we're talking about. These are shares. So these are out of 100, right? Like, so the 1.7, which you said 590 gets.
1.7% of all people listening to radio
demo
at that time.
But all people or the targeted demo?
Well, I don't know which demo this is, but let's just say
it's like male 25
18
to
plus. Let's say it's 18 plus.
Okay.
for
Okay.
example.
So basically, what that tells us, because it seems like those numbers are higher for afternoon drive, it just tells us radio listeners in the morning are going to, I don't know where they're going, CBC, or they're going to 1010, or they're going to maybe Roz and Mocha, or they're going to listen to Maryland.
Oh, yeah, they're listening to all
or
those
Derringer,
stations,
I guess, would be a big one for that demo. Yeah, or Stu
97.3,
Jeffries
all that
maybe,
stuff.
but they're not enjoying the content on 590 or 1050 in the morning.
Those are sports specifics. The numbers aren't expected to be as high. That's a real specific group of listeners that all of the content is sports related. But yeah, those numbers are pretty bad.
Interesting. So they need to. Okay, that's interesting that Landsberg only pulls in a 0.4. Because that's Kolyakovo and Landsberg, right? Doing the morning.
Last Thursday.
Okay.
Have you listened to the show?
I don't listen to any. I listen to a little Metro Morning, but even less than I used to because I missed Matt Galloway.
You folks, you listen? I mean, you would be listening if it was good. The reason that you don't listen is you don't think it's any good.
Well, I don't know. I hear Overdrive is good, and I don't listen.
Overdrive is good.
Yeah. So. Okay.
All right. NBA playoffs. Anthony Davis tried to return to the Lakers lineup last night. Lasted about 3 minutes. His groin was acting up, and he couldn't help his team avoid elimination in Game 6 of the Western Conference Series against the Phoenix Suns, who eliminated the Lakers. LeBron, Anthony, the Lakers, gone. 113-100, the final score in Game 6. Devin Booker went wild. 47 points for the Suns, including 22 in the first quarter, as the Suns led by 22 points after the first quarter. The Suns just blew them out in the first quarter. That was it. 47 for Devin Booker. And the first playoff series won by the Suns since 2010.
Wow.
So these are people that hadn't won a playoff series in 11 years going wild. And like Leaf fans are like, 11 years, we wish.
Right.
And the Denver Nuggets eliminated the Portland Trailblazers with a 126-115 win at Portland. Nikola Jokic led the way with 36 as the Nuggets will play the Suns in the Western Conference semifinals. Tonight, the Dallas Mavericks can eliminate the LA Clippers with a win in Game 6 at Dallas. And wouldn't that be something? A lot of people, not a lot of love for Kawhi Leonard, I guess, eh? But imagine Kawhi and LeBron out of the playoffs, first round.
Wow. One thing I'll say about the Lakers is you could argue that because it wasn't that long ago the playoffs for last season ended. Like we're only like 8 months removed from.
That's right.
So you could argue fatigue for a team that went the distance and won it all in that bubble. Like I'm just saying, Okay.
You could.
But Kawhi's got no excuse. He just chose the wrong destiny. But he wanted to go home, so he's
he
happy.
didn't choose the wrong destiny. No, come on.
Well, I think he could have played in
that team is a disappointment.
Sure.
He wanted to go home. Yeah, we discussed this already.
But he could have picked the Lakers.
My pick to win it all is Brooklyn because they got the three best players in the league. Do you know that James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant, the three of them, average 85 points a game, the most in NBA history.
Wow!
In a playoff series, 85%, 85 points a game from those three guys.
Wow.
Oh, my God. Brooklyn they just cruised. Surprised Boston even won a game in that series. Brooklyn took it in 5. And now Brooklyn hosts the Milwaukee Bucks tomorrow in Game 1 of their Eastern semi. Milwaukee, man, they're a good team. They're a good team. It's going to be a good series. It might be the best series of them all. And that includes whoever's going to be in the final this year.
Right.
Because if it's not going to be the Lakers and it's not going to be the Clippers, man,
it's
going to be something.
Yeah, interesting.
Brooklyn. The other Eastern semifinal has the Philadelphia 76ers hosting Atlanta. We'll see about Joel Embiid's health. That's always big.
Right.
What if Atlanta beats them on a 4-banger, buzzer beater, rim rocker, Trae Young at the buzzer, overtime, Philly again? Can you imagine being a Philly fan and not 2 years in a row, but 2 out of 3 years just getting hammered? Let's see if that happens. Wow. In golf, Brooke Henderson had the lead in the opening round of the U.S. Open at the Olympic Club in San Francisco, but a bogey on 18 dropped her into a tie for second after a 3-under par 68. Tough golf course, especially if you miss the fairway there. But Brooke right in the thick of things. She's won one major in her career. She's only 23 years old. She started playing pro. She turned pro. She was 15. It's her 9th U.S. Women's Open. Her 9th. She's 23 years old.
Wow.
The men are playing the Memorial Tournament in Dublin, Ohio. Weather, a big factor there. Lots of delays. Colin Morikawa with first round leader with a 666. Nick Taylor of Abbotsford, BC, 2 shots back at 468. Corey Connors and Adam Hadwin finished at 2 over. Mackenzie Hughes is at 5 over. Hebsy hoping to be about 11 or 12 over tomorrow when he plays crosswinds from the Blues. 11 or 12 over. Are you nuts? That's an 83 or an 84. I would love to have that tomorrow. By the way, if you've not played crosswinds or even thought about it, you better get your act together. Okay? Go to crosswindsgolf.com. Book your tee time online. It's a beautiful golf course. Do I have to tell you? $1 billion views, really terrific people, and a commitment to excellence that's second to none. Gorgeous course. And it's right between like 2 landmarks, like Mount Nemo, which is just a great conservation area and a great climb, and Rattlesnake Point. And right in between is Crosswinds, right there. It's just beautiful. The view's fabulous. But check it out, crosswindsgolf.com. Tell them Hebsy sent you. In tennis at the French Open, Naomi Osaka withdrew after that kerfuffle last week with the media. Had she mentioned initially that she was suffering from depression and anxiety at the same time that she announced that she wouldn't do post-match interviews. In other words, the reason I'm not doing post-match interviews is I've been suffering from depression and anxiety and do not want to subject myself to that. I would have been certainly understanding, and I would have agreed with her that, yeah, no one should have to go through that. I would not have made the comparison that the depression and anxiety you're feeling would be affecting your tennis game, which I did last week. I said, well, listen, if you can play tennis at a high level, you can certainly answer some questions from the media. But she hadn't said at that time that she was suffering from depression and anxiety, which I would have said, wow, if that's the case, you got to get help. You need to get help. And I'm all for you getting help, as opposed to playing in a tennis match that really is meaningless compared to your health, mental or physical. So to me, it's the same thing as having an injury. You're playing injured. And so once she clarified it, I agree with her wholeheartedly. And then she withdrew because she wasn't in any condition to perform. So she withdrew, which was the right thing to do.
No benefit of the doubt from you. You needed it spelled out to give her that.
Absolutely. 100%. Had anyone, not just now, had someone said, look, I'm really hurting, you guys. I'm really, really hurting. And I don't feel that I don't want to do press interviews. But don't come out and say, well, you know, I was never a good speaker and I don't like the questions that are asked. I mean, just come out and say that you're suffering, okay? And you have been since the U.S. Open, since that defeat by Serena. And it's very, very difficult to do that. And if you could appreciate that, and if the tour could help, or if there's any way that you could understand this, not just the French Open, but the U.S. Open and the Australian Open and Wimbledon, who quickly jumped in and said, you're going to be suspended unless you do that. Okay. Once they found out that she was suffering, they quickly went, well, okay, if you're suffering, that's a different story. It sounded like she was being defiant. I am not going to answer stupid questions.
Now, there's a interesting question for you on your YouTube channel from KM. He just wants to know, like, could she have just said personal reasons and maintain her privacy? Would that have been sufficient for you?
No, the media would want to know what personal reasons, like, death in the family.
Because then he's wondering why does she have to reveal that to everyone, that personal health information? Like maybe she should just next time say upper body injury.
Well, if you're going to be honest, then you have to tell people what ails you. If it's a knee or an ankle, I guess you could say, well, it's a lower body injury. But if it's something to do with your mental health, especially nowadays, not that you're looking for sympathy, you're looking for understanding from people. Have you been in a position like this before where you've had to do something and you are incapable of doing it? And hopefully people can understand that. But the right thing to do is to say, I'm withdrawing because of my mental health. I need to get help.
But she's entitled to privacy. So as Brian mentions, maybe she should have dealt with it
not
privately.
If she's going to win. Not if she's going to win a match and then refuse to go and do her other obligations.
But if she could have discussed this with the French Open people privately, like she could have discussed it with Roland Garros. Yes, she should have.
It seemed that when she made her announcement, she was saying, "I can do what I want to do, and I want to play tennis, but I don't want to live up to the other obligations that other tennis players have to." Right. Meanwhile, at the French Open, without Miss Osaka, the Canadians did not fare well. You know that Bianca Andreescu got bounced in the first round. You probably know that Denis Shapovalov withdrew with an injury after his last, I think he got to the final of his last tournament. Anyway, and Felix Auger-Aliassime knocked out in the first round. Leila Annie Fernandez also lost her first round singles match. However, she and Gabby Dabrowski have advanced to the second round in women's doubles. And they're going to play tomorrow. So that's the French Open situation. On the men's side, the draw is strange because number 1, Djokovic, and number 3, Nadal, are on the same side of the draw. Yeah, like Medvedev's the number 2 seed. Now, so, the draw, the even seeds are on one half of the draw and the odd seeds are on the other. But they're in the same side of the draw, Joker and Nadal, which means they might meet in the semifinals. Right. Roger Federer, the number 8 seed, he's still alive in the top half of the draw.
Right.
Can you imagine a Federer, Djokovic, or even better, a Federer-Nadal final?
Throwback.
Man, that would be awesome. I was watching Tim and Friends the other day. Sid Zixero made a comment about the Leafs. He was invited back on the show, just, not in person, but on the phone. And it was like, all right, you got something to say about the Leafs. And then he went and ranted about the Leafs. And I'm thinking, man, this is, like, why did they break this up? And if they broke it up, why is Sid back on the show like a couple months afterwards? And I thought, he never really wanted to go, because if you recall, they made the announcement back in the spring that Sid was going to be leaving in May or whenever it was, or something. So there was like a 2-month lead up to his farewell tour, and Sid's going to be leaving, and here's the best of Tim and Sid and all this. And then the final show with the accolades and the testimonials from people was really nice. And then he goes on the morning show with what's her name and doing his thing. And now Tim is Tim and Friends. He's got different guests coming on. The post-Sid era is happening. And then the Leafs get bounced by Montreal. And it's like, let's bring Sid back on. Why? Like, why did you do that, man? Like, why didn't you just keep him in the first place? Why didn't you just say, we can't let him go to breakfast television with that?
See, but you're speculating now. You're speculating. I would
Do you
guess.
think he asked to come on? Do you think he said, Timmy, please, let me come on. I got to say something about the Leafs.
No.
And Tim said, no, come on, Sid. You left already. You're doing breakfast television. You're doing weather reports. You're doing traffic. You're doing gardening.
Right.
You're doing social issues. You're doing macrame.
Right.
You're a hit with all the moms, the soccer moms. They love you all. Right? No, you're done. That's another part of your life. You're a fan now.
He's a new Kevin Frankish.
Right? And he's like, please let me, if you let Steve Dangle do his thing, please let me on. Please, Timmy. Give me a couple of minutes.
I think Sid asked to leave. I think Sid
Tim
wanted.
Says, okay, Sid. Let's not make this a real thing. And then, in a few months, it's going to be, Timmy, I got to come on again. I got to come on again. I miss sports. That's what he's doing right now. He's been doing this for a few months. He misses doing sports. He didn't know what he signed up for here.
Sure,
Getting up at 3:00 in the morning.
Sure, he did.
With a splitting headache, with somebody driving a nail through your skull for 4 hours in the morning.
Don't kid yourself.
Instead of being able to sleep in, drink your coffee, read the paper, whatever it is, watch sports, watch highlights, and then just go on about sports.
Right.
So much easier.
He knew what he signed up for. I think he initiated the move. I think he wanted to spread his wings and do the breakfast television across the country. Remember, it's not just Toronto.
Fine. But then have him back once a week. Then once a week, Sid comes in on a Friday and does his thing. Okay. Then you get at least you get something.
And then they could rename it Tim and Sid. How's that?
Tim and Friday Sid.
Right.
All right. That's it. We're done. We're out of here. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for enduring. That's it for Hebsy on Sports, episode 235. Thanks to Toronto Mike for production and inspiration. Hit him up at Toronto Mike. And thanks as well to our great sponsor, Crosswinds Golf and Country Club. Go to crosswindsgolf.com and book your tee time online. And also thanks to manscaped.com. Folks, please, I implore you, get 20% off your order by using the code Hebsy at checkout. The Lawnmower 4.0, the Weed Whacker. It's great stuff for your balls. I mean, you'll smell and feel like $1 million. Father's Day is coming. Get your hairy old man something. Don't forget, 20% off your order by using the code Hebsy at checkout. Go to manscaped.com. Help keep this podcast alive. Thanks for allowing us into your headspace. Back with another exciting episode next week. Until then, so long, everybody. This podcast has been produced by TMDS and accelerated by Roam Phone. Roam Phone brings you the most reliable virtual phone service to run your business and protect your home number from unwanted calls. Visit roamphone.ca to get started.
Bam. All right, good stuff. Let's say goodbye to the video audience here. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks. See you next week.